how good it is to be in each other's company as Shabbat enters, as the quiet and the dark enter, to hear our voices of our community joined together and lifting each other up, carrying each other through. How good it is to be together. If you are joining us technologically, how good it is. We see your faces in the sanctuary, just so you know we see you as you see us. And so we are so touched to be able to bring our Shir Tikvah community together time and again, space, irrespective, we will be together, is what we have learned in these last 18 months. If this is your first time in our sanctuary, experiencing our high-tech hub, it's hard to do high-tech and Shabbos all at the same time. A couple of tricks. For some people, these screens, not helpful. We still call out page numbers. We still believe in these old beautiful items called books. You may want to take one, and even if you're not reading from it, just hug it. Make sure you still have a relationship with it. You'll hear me fiddling with my mic. I'm always messing with my mic, is what I've learned. If you are finding yourself called to use the liturgy that is on the screen, I have one suggestion for you, and it's going to sound strange. But pick the screen that's across from where you're sitting. It will bring you further into the community. Otherwise, what happens over the course of the service is I watch you all rotate out. So your bodies follow your eyes. So bring yourself sort of in towards or across the community, and you'll find yourself hopefully feeling more and more a part of our space, our sacred time that we create.
So let us light our Shabbos candles together. You'll find the blessings on page 1. And if you are at home, we invite you to get your Shabbat candles out and light with us.
Would anybody like to light? Yeah, come on back. Welcome home. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we have to go to the other website then. We probably have to. Is that the problem before? No, it used to be the audio. You'll see. You can't read this. So.
Are you on Zoom?
Yeah. There's only 13 people here, so maybe it's people are switching other.
Shalom, everyone.
I guess we could try the other one. Let me look at the chat. See what it says.
The bottom of the page.
Oh, it only it doesn't.
Romimu. Let us lift each other up. Keep
continue singing our way towards Shabbat's full entrance into our community with Lecha Dodi on pages 11 and 12. We'll sing stanzas 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we reach stanza 9, I'll gesture like this. It's an invitation, although never a command. It's a reform command, right? Make your own relationship to it. It's an invitation to rise, embody your spirit, to turn and face this back of the sanctuary, to feel the presence of Shabbat welcoming you. And also, if you are so moved, to give a wave to those who are joining us, really bringing us together to one community.
Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat Nekharela Olecha Dodi Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat Nekharela Shabbat is our Bo'י ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובסוף עולם. תוך אמונה, עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, הולך דודי
Miriam, your entrance in our community has always been perfect. We turn to page 15 for the Chatzi Kaddish. I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba Ba'alma divarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'lom me'almayach yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yit'aleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudisha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram ba'alma ve'imeru amen.
Continuing our journey into the Shema and her blessing, turn to page 16, calling each other home to this sanctuary.
Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. It is so good to hear your voices tonight. I feel like my ears and my heart are still sort of recalibrating from the many, many months of hearing my voice and Sandy's voice around our dining room table. And it is like this expansion, once again, feeling the fullness of what it means to be part of a community. We have been rolling together for a long time, light into dark and dark into light. There is such light in the sanctuary right now. We're sending it to all of you on Zoom and YouTube and Facebook and on the Temple website, connecting ourselves through these seasons, through the steadiness of the stars arranged in the sky. May we continue to roll. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, then day turns to night. Feel free to sit down. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Oreo, la la la, Oreo. day, day turns to night, roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night.
Can I interrupt the flow of prayers for just a little nerdy rabbi teaching? So exciting to me what just happened here with your bodies, because you were all trying to decide, do I stand up or do I sit down, right? And I want you to know that you just participated in a great Jewish debate between denominations, because for thousands of years, Jews did not stand for the Baruch Hu, or they stood for the Baruch Hu, but they did not stand for the interim prayers leading up to the Shema. If you were raised in a conservative synagogue or an Orthodox synagogue, you would have been seated that whole part of the service. Does that sound right to you, Miriam? Did we stand you at uncomfortable times for the first 5 years? Yes. And so when I came to Shir Tikvah and I found you all standing during the Shema, I thought, that's so interesting, because this community is really such a mix liturgically of the Reform, the Reconstructionist, the conservative movements. So I just watched it all happen in your bodies, and I was so happy, because you are all making your own decisions. The Reform movement added the standing of the Shema. It was a Reform innovation to emphasize the idea of the oneness of our lives in comparison to the Amidah, which had historically been the most important prayer in the prayer service. And so over the course of the history of the 200 years of the Reform movement, we have bounced around in relationship to this prayer about whether it's a prayer that we need to be standing for or seated for, what allows us the most concentration and the most connection both to the history of prayer and to the current experience of prayer. So my little nerdy rabbi heart is so happy watching you all figure out, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Because that's actually the point of prayer, is to make you think, what am I supposed to be doing right now that would connect me to these words all the more? So I invite you to choose, stand or to sit, whatever will feel the most meaningful to you as we turn to the Shema. Thank you. It is on page 17. There is no right answer.
ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, stand if you want to.
All choice has left now. We continue with the Ve'ahavta. We'll chant the first paragraph on page 18 and jump to the second paragraph of page 20.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha b'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue with the words of Micha Mocha at the bottom of page 21. The words that invite us to imagine the feeling of freedom and the knowledge that all are free. Continue with Hashki Menu, page 22. Praying for that sukkah of shalom, shelter of peace, safety and security to hold each of us in dark times.
Shalom, Ahamidenu, Malkeinu l'chaim, Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Leshalom, Ahamidenu.
turning to page 25. We prepare to enter the Amidah. We invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
Sifatai tivtach ufi agite hilatecha Adonai. Sifatai tivtach ufi agite hilatecha. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei hakol, ve'zocher chasdei avot ve'imachot, u'mevi ge'ula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol atah rav le'hoshia, mechakel chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol, atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. turn to page 29, in the middle of the Amidah, or up on the screen. Modim anachnu lach, grateful are we. This is a muscle that I feel like we've all had to put into great use in this time. In the minyan, we begin with Moda ani, I am grateful, grateful am I. And this is in the plural, grateful are we. For all these things, and I just encourage you in this moment, even if you're not feeling like you're overflowing with gratitude and gratefulness, to maybe just hold a couple of things in your mind while we chant these words, and that you feel brings that sense of, okay, for this I can be grateful, for this I can be grateful, and to exercise that muscle. Modim anachnu lach, modim anachnu lach. We thank you, God, for all these things. Modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, God, for all these things. Modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, God, for all these things. Modim anachnu And it somehow feels particularly good to fill up on that gratitude for all of the things as we turn to Misha Berach on page 130. Because we are all too aware of what is broken right now, of the losses, of the things that are not working so well. And to be able to hold even that in the light of gratitude. And so we turn to those in need of healing. And I invite you to just think about those in your own life that you'd like to offer this prayer to. And first we'll just read a list of names of those in our community, those connected to those in our community. Pray for the healing of Debbie Demirs, for Debbie Sachs-Buteau, for Gina Wong and Janet Akmajian Crawford, for Jessica Klein, Matt Figelman, for Kathy Grossman and Fred Moses, Teresa Brugman, for Jack Keller, Adam Gelb, Danny Blair, for Joyce, for Roberta Lasky and Roger Landay, for Roz Hoffman, Robin Einzig, Tori Macia, Stanley Roth, for Brenda Meyerson, for Patty Richard, Diana Sanders, Andy Cassell, Harry Manko, Jessica Guertin, for Marty Wisnant, Denise Pappas, for Joyce and David Adamson, Tom Alexander, for Sandra and Al Levin, for Joyce Catania, for Susan Zimmerman Inney, Arlene Norris, Jeff Wisnia, for Deb Midman, Neil Daniels Midman, for Susan Trendahl, Melissa Martin and her daughter, Pat Lazar, Harriet Levy, Ann Pillow, Judy Donaldson, for Alan and Joanne Travis, Fiona Sutton, Norman and Fran Waxler, Sue Boardman, for Angela Panzone, Nancy Alpert, Debbie Gilman, Patty Shepard, Jennifer Chase, Ellen Lee, for Vicki Oman, Barbara Coulinane, Elizabeth Wall, Anya Cobble, for Annie Graham and her daughter Sandy, for Rich and Joan Richmond, Ken Blumberg, Ayelet Bat Havava Hirsch Noel, Claude Lieber, Nancy Lazaro Lieber, and for Kathy Nath. I invite you to add, if you are joining us via technology, to put names into the chat function. And if you're here in the sanctuary, to please raise your hand if you'd like to add names for healing in body, mind, or spirit. Marcy.
Deb Stoll. Lawrence and Henry Wilson.
Barry.
Janice Rogers.
Meryl.
Peter Chesson.
Jill Lyons.
Heather.
Brian Grebo.
All of these loved ones in our hearts, let us turn to the words of Mishaberach on the left-hand side of the page. Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Yevarech Virapeh et Hachoni Elna Rifana Elna Rifana La Elna Rifana Elna Rifana Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Yevarech Virapeh et Hachoni. Return to page 99. Third song down. May these things never end. Shelo yigamer le'olam hachol ve'hayam rishush shel hamayim berak hashamayim tfilat ha'adam hachol ve'hayam rishush shel hamayim page 102, we conclude the Amidah, these words of peace. Sim Shalom. May we be granted peace and goodness, blessing, grace, kindness, and compassion. And in turn, may we bless others with those same. Sim Shalom. Tova u'bracha ba'olam chen v'chesed. Sim Shalom. Tova u'bracha ba'olam chen v'chesed. V'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. V'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Sim Shalom. Tova u'bracha ba'olam chen v'chesed. Sim Shalom. Tova u'bracha ba'olam chen v'chesed. V'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. V'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha.
For some people, mainly introverts, but also shy people or people when they're in pain, so almost any of us at some point in our lives, it is easier to pull back, to answer fine when somebody asks how you are, even if you're not fine. And even if the person asking is a person you trust with the truth, sometimes fine is just easier. To stay silent in the midst of a conversation when it gets too close or too personal. To lean back. Almost literally in my seat, I catch myself doing it. It is easier often to stay at a safe distance, to keep oneself at a distance. But the distance can come with a cost. This week's Parsha opens in a way that invites us to imagine that proximity matters. In the beginning of the Parsha, Judah approaches a man who holds great power over him, who he has not yet recognized as his long-lost brother, who he's helped to sell into slavery. And this apparent stranger over him has the potential to take all of his promises, all of his ideas that he could be a protector in his family, and crack them open without even knowing. This is a man who just sort of seems to hold everything, all of the outcomes of Judah's life, unknowingly, uncaringly, almost balanced in his arms. And Judah does something that is surprising for a man that we have seen of his characters this far. He chooses to step in. He approaches with vulnerability that has not yet been evident in his life. He speaks of a failing father who he longs to protect from more pain, who has already lost one beloved son and could lose another. He tells a story of his own vulnerability, and he evinces none of the anger that has marked his character up till now, that helped create the situation where his unknown brother is holding all of this power. None of that is on display. Instead, it is as if he is leaning in and literally putting himself in his brother's hands. It's all vulnerable. He draws near to the vizier, this unknown person of power over him. He literally, the text says, walks up to him. Not something I understand you're supposed to do in Egypt's palace to somebody in charge, right? Don't just sort of fling yourself towards a person in power. Doesn't generally end well. But he literally physically puts himself out there. And it mirrors, his physical self mirrors how he is attempting to draw near to his brother, to Joseph. And he tells a tale to this as yet unknown man, he makes himself emotionally vulnerable. And in making himself emotionally vulnerable, he demonstrates new parts of his character. He demonstrates that he also has the ability to be a loyal and loving member of a family, a protective brother rather than a competitor. When he leans in, he shows a different side of himself. And what happens in response? Joseph could no longer control himself, the text says. He who has used control and power to master authority that would not have been given to him in any situation, he who has held on to control for Pharaoh, he for whom control has been a driving feature in his life, loses control. He sees somebody's vulnerability and he cries out so loudly that even though he's cleared the palace room, the entire palace is alerted to his heightened emotional state. And he is able to say, I am Joseph. Is my father still well? Until now, Joseph has known that his brothers are back in his life. They've been back for chapters at this point, and he's been testing them. But when his brother shows up with vulnerability, when his brother tells a story of complexity, the nature of the relationship shifts fundamentally between them. And while his brother draws close to him, he is able to draw close to his brother and actually return to his father as a result. Some weeks it is easier to step back. Sometimes it is safer to step back. Sometimes the only choice is to step back because the situation is not safe. But sometimes we are invited to consider what stepping forward may create a pathway to. May it be so for each of us this week that we take the time to see the patterns that have offered us a sense of control, and may we learn to offer our own version of a path forward by instead controlling them. Shabbat Shalom. May it be so.
Begin to conclude our service, returning to the words of Aleinu, which you will find on page 42. Feel like we are getting our groove back here. It's been so nice.
That's a different movie.
V'hashevota el levavecha. May this dwell in our hearts. May it nourish our souls. May we take this energy and this togetherness with us into this Shabbat. And please rise in body or spirit. These words of Aleinu. V'hashevota.
Turn to page 44. We turn our hearts to our time in community of memory. A time when we invite in the names, the presences, memories, the love that lives beyond death. You are using our technology to join our community this evening. I invite you to share the names of your beloved in the chat function of the tech you're using to join us. This week in our community, we remember Ruth Hayden Miles. We stand in observance of the yard site of Stephen Alexander, and are in the year of memory for Jack Langerman, for Gladys Schuker, and for Roberta Lipperman. If you would like to add the name of a person you are remembering into our sacred community, I invite you to raise your hand so I can indicate towards you and you can say that person's name in our sanctuary.
Bruce Lauder Watson. Marty Feynman, Vera Ross.
Lily Stanford.
Jay Wasserstar, Dr. Lewis Harvey, Jersey.
Harry Donna. My mom.
Henry Gildon.
For all those names, we join our voices together, holding each other, calling to one another in our memory. Page 44. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma divrach hirte v'amlich malchute. V'chayechon u'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. V'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'elam kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Amen. The one who makes peace in the heavens, makes peace for us, for all Israel, and all who dwell on earth. What do we say?
Just a few announcements. Project Ezra is still in need of a few more volunteers, and we encourage you to, it'll be in Monday's weekly update as well. If you are available to help out, it would be wonderful. They're going from serving 400 families to serving 500 families, and so all hands on deck for that. It's so exciting that Habitat for Humanity is back in action tomorrow morning at 8:30. And Torah study is, of course, at 10:30. Torah on Tap will take place right here in the sanctuary at 4 p.m. And on Sunday, there are 2 adult learning opportunities. You can join in on Zoom to learn about the Israeli political system, present and future, at 9:30. And then a class at 4:30 called Jews and the Cancel Culture. So we are starting to buzz again around here. And I just also want to mention that next week is Winter Solstice Poetry Shabbat. It will be an online only Shabbat service next week. And if you would like to get a poem in, do so by Wednesday at 5 p.m. And we'll just luxuriate in beautiful words next Friday night for Winter Solstice Poetry. Anything I'm missing that anyone would like to join in?
Here.
Let us turn to page 45.
We are not talking about camping this week.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'Terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, V'Chev Sokol, Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Ve'acharei Kiglot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora Adon Olam, V'Hu Haya, V'Hu Hoveh, V'Hu Yeh V'Tifara Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'Terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, V'Chev Sokol, Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'Hu Echad V'Ein Sheni, La'am Shelo La'achbira Adon Olam, V'Li Reshit, V'Li Tachlit, V'Lo Ha'oz V'Hamisra Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'Terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, V'Chev Sokol, Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'Hu Eli, V'Chai Go'ali, V'Tzor Chali V'Etzara Adon Olam, V'Hu Nisi, Umanosli, V'Nakosi B'Yom Ekra Adon Olam, Asher Malach, the Terem Kol, Yizinivra, Le'et Nasa, V'Chevsakol, Adon Melech Shemo Nikra, Adon Olam, Be'ado, Avtiv Ruchi, Ve'et Isha Le'a'ira, Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruchi, Gaviyati, Adon Aliv Ve'le'ira, Adon Olam, Hashem Alav, the Terem Kol, Yizinivra, Ve'et Nasa, V'Chevsakol, Adon Melech Shemo Nikra, Adon Olam. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.